Welcome back to Flashpoint, everybody. As we have been discussing, it's about a year and a half now until the governor's seat will be vacated and a new governor will take over the reins of the state of Michigan. And as we have said many times here on Flashpoint, that candidate pool is filling up. One of those candidates, current U.S. Congressman John James, joining us now here in studio. Before we talk about what you'd like to accomplish if you are elected, I do want to spend some time talking about suffrage, because I think from your background, you understand why this is a big deal, not only to Macomb County, but national defense.
You nailed it. When you consider that within a 500-mile radius, you have a third of the entire population of the U.S. and Canada. When 9/11 happened, fighters from Selfridge were actually deployed to New York. We in the state of Michigan have an outsized role in the defense of this nation, and we've seen it from World War II, when we were called up and responded with the arsenal of democracy, to COVID, when we responded repurposing our automotive industry for ventilators. We've always been called upon when our nation needed us, and now we will be in a better position to do that with our new F-15EXs that President Trump promised, in addition to our tankers. Right. This makes our base relevant, this makes our nation safer, and this makes Michigan stronger.
Looking at your military background, can you kind of talk to us about what happens behind the scenes in terms of how many jobs this adds, the training that will have to happen, the infrastructure that has to change?
Yes, of course. You mentioned my military background. I graduated at West Point in 2004, became a Ranger qualified Apache pilot, and flew 750 hours combat in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I came back here because I want to serve my community similarly as I served my country. And what this means for our economy, in addition to our national security, is it boosts our economy from the military families who will be coming here, from the production that would need to be sustained for our combat readiness, and also stabilizing Selfridge Air National Guard Base. We have lost 3 flying missions in the past few decades, and losing Selfridge would decimate southeast Michigan. We are short at $8.1 billion of pro rata share of defense spending from this state, and I'm doing everything that I can to claw that back to benefit the state of Michigan. Now, there's a transition going on right now. We need to be able to fight future wars and win them. And so making sure that Selfridge stays on the map with these future fighter missions is essential. But I'm also working on things like hypersonic defense, working on AI with data centers that it's going to take to actually make those happen. Cyber, drone warfare. These are all things that I'm working on, and I'm really excited, in addition to the fighters, making sure that we have a new runway to accommodate those fighters. So I'm actually...
Need some more space.
That's right. We're going to need some more space. So actually, the functional and infrastructure needs that are required to bring these fighters here are necessary, and I'm excited to do that right now.
So I want to talk about your campaign, and we'll talk about what you'd like to accomplish. But one of the things I want to start with is that there have been multiple discussions and rumors, and you can confirm nor deny that Vice President Vance has talked to you about maybe you would be better served working with the Trump administration, staying in D.C. Have those conversations happened, and where's your head at in terms of Lansing versus Washington?
My head has always been in Michigan. I'm not too good for my home, and these are things that matter at my home. In my home, we actually have a rising unemployment rate with a declining population. We have a rising number of manufacturing jobs that we're losing, and a declining performance of our education system. That is why a governor who can actually win and actually has the credibility and the skill sets to be able to focus on bringing manufacturing jobs as somebody who's worked in the automotive industry and growing hundreds of jobs here in the past 10 years. These are the types of skill sets that we're going to require in order to make life in Michigan better. Look,
so the Vice President didn't call you then?
The Vice President hasn't called me.
Okay.
No. That is a rumor, but I would welcome a call from the Vice President to talk about anything and everything and how we can make Michigan stronger. The Vice President does care very deeply about the Midwest, and he came here to talk about building it here. And we need to have an environment where President Trump is trying to make America great again. We need to have someone who's going to make Michigan great again. We need to focus on academic excellence, economic mobility, and public safety. You're seeing the president bringing trillions of dollars of investment back to the United States of America, but you ever notice that a lot of that's not coming here? Is going to Ohio, is going to Indiana, is going to North Carolina, Alabama, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, everywhere else but here, because it's an adversarial business environment. Right now, because of what's going on in Lansing, it's choking out the business that's already here, large and small, mom and pop to multinational corporations. They're choked out and they're actually leaving the state, where others who are looking to make investments aren't even giving Michigan a chance. We need to change the story. We need to change the narrative about Michigan, because we have the talent, we have the skill set, and we are not afraid of the future, but we demand to be a part of it. And we will not, we cannot, without the right leadership to get us right on track.
I know you talked about academic excellence, and it's no surprise that we have literacy rate issues.
Yes, we do.
In this area, especially in Detroit. What's your plan? How do we fix that?
Focus on literacy. See, it's not hard. It's not hard. We have to focus on literacy, and we have to drive accountability. I believe very strongly that our school boards are hurting our students, and the teachers' unions are hurting the teachers. We have God's servants, these teachers. I put teachers on the same level as I put soldiers. People who have a mission, people who love children, people who want to invest in future generations. But because of the inertia, because of the special interests who are protecting that 1% who aren't performing, it hurts everyone. I believe that paying teachers what they're worth, I don't think there's any reason in Michigan that a good teacher shouldn't make 6 figures. I don't believe that in Michigan that parents should not have a choice of where they're going to send their children. I believe that when you give parents a choice, you give children a chance, and a good quality education is a basic civil right. And focusing on literacy and making sure that parents understand this, focusing on that metric, because if you can't read, you can't do math. If you can't read, then you can't pursue excellence. Just in the city of Detroit, we're sitting right now, the literacy rate for 3rd graders is at 11%, and the adult literacy rate in the city of Detroit is in the 40s. When you look at 4th graders around the state who are reading at grade level, it's in the 40s. And you look at our educational performance across the country, we're at the bottom of the barrel. That's unacceptable. So and the thing that has to change is we have to give parents the tools that they need to make sure their children are successful.
You talked about paying teachers more.
Yes.
That becomes a budget issue. Where does the money come from?
The money comes from actually broadening our tax base rather than simply increasing our tax rate. When you do things like focus on regulatory reform, tort reform, and tax reform, then you attract more business here, and you see that people are hungry for the opportunity to invest, but we have to create an environment for them to do that. Great examples are defense companies like Anduril that are moving from California into places like Ohio, Intel. Site selectors who I talk to in my role, they say they don't even put Michigan on the list. When you have people who are here and they come, we don't have to offer a pirate's ransom for them to come, because we don't have enough taxpayer dollars to pay for terrible policy coming out of Lansing. We need to make it more hospitable to bring business in, and most importantly, keep business here. When I visit farms and factories all over the state, they can't stop talking about what Eagle is doing for their ability to comply, and whether they should just fold up their farm and go do something else because their children are looking at Michigan and saying, I'm going to go pursue opportunity elsewhere. That has to stop. We need to bring our population back. We need to broaden our tax base. We need to make sure that everybody can participate in the economy. And that's the economic mobility that I'm talking about, not just creating this job, but in allowing you to pursue the middle class and the upper class and creating a clear path for everyone to achieve the American dream.
We have a couple minutes left, so I'll ask you one more question here. Outgoing Governor Gretchen Whitmer, a Democrat, you're looking to flip that seat to red. How do you do it?
Well, it's not just having the military background, understanding what it takes to protect American lives, Michigan lives, because I've actually led through crises before, and being the commander-in-chief of the National Guard, having a combat background is something that only I can say in this race, but I have experience with. Also having a business background, signing the front and the back of a check, being an executive in the automotive industry where manufacturing is so important. That is an experience growing hundreds of jobs that we need to be able to have. And then for a state where we get 40% of every dollar we spend at the state from the federal level, having a close relationship with the administration and also my colleagues in Congress, making sure that Michigan is first to the table for the investments in our infrastructure, our health care, our energy, and making sure that we continue to have those resources to grow and invest in our state are all very important. And I'm the only one on either side who can say that. I have the relevant experience where it matters, and Michigan needs a leader who can execute competently, bring character to the position, and you also have history on your side. This is very important. Since 1983, when Democrats have come in, Michigan has selected a Republican to fix it. Every single time a Democrat has come into office this century, we've lost population and Republicans have gained it. Since 1983, under Blanchard, when we had 12 years of Engler, then we had 8 years of Granholm, then we had 8 years of Sider, now we're going to have 8 years of Whitmer. Michigan, with Democrats in charge, which will be for a total of 8 years, Michigan is going to respond to having a leader who can deliver academic excellence, economic mobility, and public safety, because that is what people need. People want an executive in Lansing. They don't want an activist. And I have the experience necessary to lead and help the people achieve the American dream.
All right, there it is, Congressman. We appreciate you coming to Flashpoint today.
Thank you so much
for your
appreciate
time.
you.
When we come back, we're going to look at the couple of things that you want to look at for the week ahead. We'll be right back.